It was 4 in the morning when Damien went downstairs for a glass of water. He didn't expect to find anyone awake. The Ashford estate was silent, the hallways dark. Only the faintest moonlight filtering through the tall windows. But as he passed the kitchen, he heard something. Water running. Metal clattering against ceramic. And heavy breathing. A child's. Damien stopped. He peered through the slightly ajar door, and what he saw made his heart freeze. A little girl. Small. Too thin. Dark hair pulled back into a messy ponytail. A plain nightgown that had clearly seen better days. She was standing on a step-stool, on her tiptoes, straining to reach the sink, washing a mountain of dishes. At 4 in the morning, Damien recognized the girl. It was Lily, the daughter of May, one of the housekeepers at the Ashford estate, 11 years old, just a child, doing an adult's work. In the dead of night. Damien watched in silence for a moment. Lily's hands were submerged in the water. Red. Chapped. As if she'd been at it for hours. Days. Weeks. Her eyes were nearly closing with exhaustion. But she didn't stop. Plate after plate. Glass after glass. Pot after pot. As if her life depended on it. Damien took a step into the kitchen. The floor creaked. Lily froze. She turned so quickly she almost fell off the stool, and when her eyes met Damien's, Damien saw terror. Pure, unadulterated terror. "Mr. Ashford," she said, her voice trembling. I can explain. I was just—" Damien raised his hand. "Easy," he said, his voice soft. "I'm not angry." Lily didn't seem convinced. She was shaking now, her hands still dripping ice-cold water. "Please," she said. "Please don't tell my mom. Please." Something in that plea made Damien pause. "Don't tell my mom." It wasn't fear of punishment. It was fear of her mother finding out. "Why can't your mother know?" Damien asked. Lily lowered her eyes. She didn't answer. Damien approached, slowly, as if he were approaching a frightened animal. "Lily," he said, "it's 4 in the morning. You should be asleep. Why are you doing dishes?" Lily bit her lip. I like to help," she said. It was a lie. Damien knew it. "You like doing dishes at 4 in the morning," he repeated. Lily nodded. Too quickly, too nervously. Damien looked at her hands again, the red, chapped hands of an 11-year-old child. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked. Lily didn't answer. "Lily." Damien crouched down to her level. "You can tell me. I promise I won't punish you." Lily's eyes filled with tears. But she blinked them back, swallowed, forced the tears down, like a child who had learned not to cry. 3 weeks, she said finally, her voice barely audible. 3 weeks, an 11-year-old child, washing dishes at 4 in the morning, for 3 weeks. "Why?" Damien asked. Lily looked at her bare feet. "Because Mum can't," she said. The words hung in the air, heavy, painful. "Your mother can't," Damien repeated. Lily shook her head. She stopped, took a deep breath. "She's tired, really tired. She works all day, and when night comes, she can't do anything anymore. So I do it." Damien felt something tighten in his chest. "You're doing your mother's work," he said. It wasn't a question. Lily nodded. "Just the things she can't," she said quickly. "Just when she's really tired. I wake up early, do what needs to be done, then go back to bed before she wakes up. She doesn't know." Damien closed his eyes for a moment. An 11-year-old child, waking up at 4 in the morning, to do her mother's work, in secret, to protect her. "How long has your mother been tired?" he asked. Lily hesitated. "A few months," she admitted. "It started slowly. She would get dizzy sometimes. Then she started having aches and pains. Now she can't do much at night. But she can't stop working. If she stops—" Lily didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. If May stopped working, she'd be fired. And if she was fired, they'd lose their home, the staff quarters, the only place they had. Damien looked around the kitchen, at the pile of dishes still waiting, at the stacked pots and pans, at all the work that still needed to be done. "And you do all this by yourself?" he said. Lily nodded. "The dishes, goes the cleaning, sometimes some of the cooking, everything Mom is supposed to do at night. I do it in the morning, very early, before anyone else wakes up." "And school?" Damien asked. Lily froze. "What about school?" she said. "You are going to school, Lily." Silence, a silence that spoke volumes. "Lily," Damien said, his tone more serious now, "are you going to school?" Lily lowered her head. "Sometimes," she whispered. "Sometimes." "When was the last time you went?" Lily didn't answer. "Lily, last week," she said finally. "I went on Monday. But then Mom got worse and I couldn't." She stopped, the tears finally escaping, streaming down the tired face of a child who was carrying the world on her shoulders. "I couldn't go," she said, "because if I do, who will take care of Mom? Who will do her work? Who will make sure she doesn't get fired?" Damien felt his throat tighten. "You're 11 years old," he said. "I know," Lily replied. "But Mom only has me, and I only have Mom." She wiped her tears with the backs of her red hands, those hands that looked burned from so much ice-cold water. "Please, Mr. Ashford." "Now," she said, "please don't tell anyone. If Mrs. Hartwell finds out Mom can't do her job, she'll fire us. And if Mom gets fired, I don't know what will happen to us." Damien looked at that little girl, that child, who was sacrificing her childhood, her education, her sleep, all to protect her mother. And something inside him broke. Because Damien knew what it was like to lose someone. 3 years ago, his wife had died, leaving him alone with his son, Lucas, who was only 5 years old at the time. Since then, Lucas had barely spoken, barely smiled, barely lived. And Damien had closed himself off too, focused on his work, on the estate, on his responsibilities, forgetting that there were still people in the world who needed help, people like Lily and May. "Lily," Damien said, "go to bed." "But the dishes." "I'll finish them," he said. Lily's eyes widened. "You, sir." "I'll finish them," Damien repeated. "Go to sleep. You need to rest." "But, sir." "That's an order," Damien said. But his voice was gentle. "Go to sleep, Lily. We'll talk tomorrow." Lily hesitated. She looked at the dishes, at Damien, at her own hands. "Thank you," she whispered. And then she climbed down from the stool. She walked to the door, and before she left, she looked back one last time. "Mr. Ashford," she said. "Yes? Do you promise you won't tell Mom?" Damien looked at her, at this young girl, carrying so much, all alone. "I promise," he said. Lily nodded. "Thank you," she said again. And then she was gone, her small footsteps echoing in the dark hallway. Damien stood frozen in the kitchen, looking at the pile of dishes, at the sink filled with ice-cold water, at everything this 11-year-old child had been doing. And then he did something he hadn't done in a very long time. He rolled up his sleeves and started to wash, plate by plate, glass by glass, thinking about everything he had discovered and everything he still needed to discover. Because something was very wrong. And Damien was going to find out what. The next morning, Damien called his assistant. "I need information," he said, "about a staff member, Mei Chen. Everything you can find." The assistant nodded. "Anything specific I should look for, sir?" Damien thought about the girl with the red hands, about the mother who was too exhausted to work, about the child who was missing school to do an adult's job. "Medical records," he said, "work history, and anything about her daughter, especially her school attendance." The assistant hesitated. "The daughter, sir. She's just a child." "I know," Damien replied. "That's why I need to know." The report arrived that afternoon, and it was worse than Damien had imagined. Mei Chen, 35 years old, housekeeper at the estate for 8 years, impeccable record until 6 months ago, when everything started to fall apart. Complaints of incomplete work, warnings for tardiness, grievances from the head housekeeper, Mrs. Hartwell, about unsatisfactory performance. And in the last 3 months, May had been warned 4 times. She was 1 step away from being fired. Damien continued reading. Medical records, none. May wasn't going to the doctor, had no health insurance, had no money for appointments, which meant whatever illness she had was going untreated. And the daughter, Lily Chen, 11 years old. School attendance in the last 30 days, 23 absences. 23 absences in 1 month. An 11-year-old child who should be learning, playing, being a kid. Instead, she was washing dishes at 4 in the morning to save her mother. Damien closed the report and felt something he hadn't felt in a very long time. Anger. Not at Lily. Not at May. At everything else. At the system that had failed them. At the people who hadn't noticed. At himself for not seeing it sooner. A child was sacrificing everything, and no one had noticed. Until now. Damien stood up. He had a lot of work to do. In the following days, Damien observed, discreetly, from afar. But he watched. And what he saw made his heart sink further and further. Lily woke up at 4 in the morning, every day, without exception. She went down to the kitchen while the estate slept, washed dishes, cleaned surfaces, organized the pantry, all in silence, all alone. At 6, she went back to her room, pretended to sleep. And when May woke her at 7, Lily smiled as if she had rested all night, as if she wasn't dying of exhaustion on the inside. Damien watched May too. The woman was clearly sick. Her movements were slow, calculated, as if each step cost energy she didn't have. Sometimes she leaned against the walls when she thought no one was looking. Sometimes she closed her eyes in the middle of a task, breathing deeply, fighting something Damien couldn't see. But she never stopped, never complained, never asked for help. She just kept going. Because if she stopped, she would lose everything. And then there was Mrs. Hartwell, the head housekeeper. Damien had never paid much attention to her before. She was just another employee. Efficient, organized, kept the estate running. But now that he was watching, he saw things he hadn't seen before. Like how Mrs. Hartwell always appeared when May made a mistake. Always there. Always ready to document it, to note it, to add another complaint to the file. On Tuesday, Damien saw May drop a tray. It was an accident. She was dizzy. Anyone could see it. But before the tray even hit the floor, Mrs. Hartwell was there, calm, smiling. "Another accident, May," she said, her voice as sweet as poison. "This is becoming a concerning pattern." "It was just a tray," May said, her voice weak. "I'll clean it up." "Oh, I know you'll clean it up," Mrs. Hartwell replied. "But broken trays cost money, and frequent accidents." She left the sentence hanging in the air. "Well, you understand." May nodded, her head lowered. her hands trembling. "It won't happen again," she said. Mrs. Hartwell smiled again, and that smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I hope not," she said. "For your sake, and your daughter's." The mention of Lily made May freeze, and Damien too, because that wasn't an observation, it was a threat. Damien continued watching, and things only got worse. On Wednesday, he saw Lily in the garden. It was lunchtime. The girl should have been at school, but she wasn't. She was crouched behind some bushes, looking at the house through the window. Damien approached. "Lily," he said softly. She jumped, turned around, and when she saw it was him, she relaxed, but only a little. "Mr. Ashford," she said, "why aren't you at school?" Lily lowered her eyes. I wasn't feeling well." Damien looked at her, at the deep circles under her eyes, at the red eyes of someone who wasn't sleeping well, at the still cracked hands. "Are you sick?" he asked. Lily hesitated. "No," she admitted, "but Mom is." Damien sat on the garden bench. He gestured for Lily to sit too. She hesitated, but she sat. "Tell me," Damien said. Lily looked at her own hands. "Those child's hands that were doing an adult's job." "She's gotten worse, Ma," Lily said, her voice almost a whisper. "Last night she could barely walk. I tried to make her stay in bed, but she said she couldn't. Said if she missed another day." She stopped, swallowed. "Mrs. Hartwell said that one more mistake and Mom will be fired." Lily continued. "What if Mom gets fired? We lose the house. And if we lose the house—" She glanced at Damien. "I don't know where we'll go." Damien felt the weight of those words. An 11-year-old child, worried about where she would live, about how she would survive, about how she would take care of her sick mother. "You shouldn't have to worry about these things," he said. Lily shrugged. "Someone has to worry," she replied. "And Mom already has too much to worry about." Damien looked at her, at that little girl who had grown up too fast, who was carrying too much weight, who deserved so much more. And he made a decision. "Lily," he said, "I'm going to ask you a question, and I need you to be honest with me." Lily nodded, nervously. "How long has your mother really been sick?" he asked. Lily bit her lip. "Months," she said finally. "Started with tiredness, then dizziness, then aches and pains. Now she can barely do anything at night. In the morning, she's a little better. But at night, why hasn't she seen a doctor?" Lily looked at him as if the question made no sense. "Doctors cost money," she said. "Money we don't have." Damien closed his eyes for a moment. A sick woman, without treatment, because she had no money, in his own estate, under his own roof, and he didn't know, hadn't realized. "Lily," he said, "if I could help your mother, would you let me?" Lily looked at him. Her eyes filled with hope and fear at the same time. "How?" she asked. Damien thought about everything he was, what he could do, the resources he had, the healers of his people who could cure almost anything. "Trust me," he said. Lily studied his face. "Why do you care?" she asked. "We're just employees. Mom's just another housekeeper. Why are you doing this?" Damien considered the question, thought about his wife who had died, about Lucas who didn't smile anymore, about all the nights he spent alone thinking he couldn't do anything to change the world. "Because I should have noticed sooner," he said. "Because no one should go through what you're going through. And because—" He looked at her. "You remind me of someone who—" Damien smiled slightly. "Of myself," he said, "when I was young, before I had the power to change things." Lily didn't completely understand, but something in her face changed, the distrust giving way to something resembling hope. "You're going to help us?" she asked. "Really?" Damien nodded. "Really?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. But this time, she let them fall. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." Damien put his hand on her shoulder. "You don't need to thank me," he said. "You just need to go back to school. Leave the rest to me." Lily laughed, a wet laugh, but a laugh. The first Damien had seen since he had found her in that kitchen. "Okay," she said. Damien stood up. "Now go," he said. "Go study, go play, go be a child, at least for today." Lily nodded, wiped away the tears. And for the first time in a long time, she looked like an 11-year-old girl, not an adult trapped in a child's body. "Thank you, Mr. Ashford," she said again, and then she ran, back to the house, to her room, maybe even to school. Damien stood in the garden, watching her go, and then turned toward the estate. He had a lot of work to do. That same afternoon, Damien found Lucas. His son was in his room, as always, reading, alone, in silence, like he had been for 3 years. "Lucas," Damien said. The boy looked up, eyes that were very similar to Damien's, amber and green. Dragon eyes. "Dad," Lucas said, just one word. It was more than he usually said. "Can I sit with you?" Damien asked. Lucas nodded. Damien sat on the bed. Looked at the book Lucas was reading. It was about adventures, pirates, treasures, things 8-year-old boys should like. "Do you know the girl who lives here?" Damien asked. "May's daughter, Lily." Lucas nodded. "Have you ever talked to her?" Lucas shook his head. "No." "Why not?" Lucas shrugged. "She seems sad," he said. "Like me." Damien felt his heart clench. "You think she's sad?" Lucas nodded. "I see her sometimes," he said. "Early in the morning she's washing things alone in the dark." Damien froze. "You've seen her?" Lucas nodded. "I don't sleep well," he said. "Sometimes I go downstairs to get a drink, and I see her working. Why have you never told me?" Lucas looked at him. That look that was too old for an 8-year-old boy. "You weren't paying attention," he said. The words hit Damien like a punch, because it was true. He wasn't paying attention, not to Lily, not to May, not to Lucas, to no one but himself and his pain. "Lucas," Damien said, "I'm sorry." Lucas tilted his head. "For what?" "For not paying attention," Damien replied. "For being so caught up in my own world that I didn't see what was happening. With you, with the others, with everyone." Lucas was silent for a moment. Then he said something Damien didn't expect. "It's okay, Dad," he said. "I wasn't paying attention either. After Mom—" He stopped, swallowed, after Mom was gone. "I stopped looking, because looking hurt too much." Damien pulled his son into a hug, the first real hug in a long time. Lucas didn't resist, just let himself be hugged, like a child should be. "Dad," Lucas said against Damien's chest. "Yes, Lily. She needs help. Like her mom's really sick and she's doing everything alone, and I think she's really tired." "I know," Damien said, "and I'm going to help." Lucas pulled back a little, looked at his father. "Promise, I promise." Lucas smiled. A small smile, almost invisible, but the first real smile in 3 years. "Okay," he said. "I trust you." Damien hugged his son again and promised himself that he would deserve that trust. Lily was 11 years old. She should be playing, studying, being a child. Instead, she was waking up at 4 in the morning to do adult work, to save her mother. Alone. If you've ever known someone who carried too much weight too soon, then you understand why this story is important. Keep watching, because what happens next changes everything. That night, Lily couldn't sleep, not because she was washing dishes, but he couldn't stop thinking about what Mr. Ashford had said. He was going to help. For real, for the first time in months. Lily felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. She was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. when she heard something. A sound coming from the room next door, her mother's room. Lily got up and walked to the door, opened it slowly, and saw May sitting on the edge of the bed, crying. "Mom." May looked up, tried to hide her tears. "Lily," she said. "What are you doing awake?" Lily didn't answer the question. Instead, she sat down beside her mother. "What happened?" she asked. May shook her head. "Nothing, sweetie. Go to sleep." "Mum." May looked at her daughter, at that little girl who was everything she had in the world, and the tears started falling again. "I don't know what to do, Lily," she said. "Mrs. Hartwell called me into her office today and said that my performance isn't satisfactory, that I have until the end of the week to improve, or—" She didn't finish. She didn't need to. Lily felt her heart sink. End of the week. 4 days. "Mom," she said, "it's going to be okay." "How?" May asked. "How is it going to be okay? I can barely work. I can barely stand. And if I lose this job—" She looked around the small room. "We have nowhere to go." Lily took her mother's hand. "We'll figure it out, Wayne," she said. "We always do." May looked at her daughter, at that little girl who shouldn't have to figure anything out. "My love," she said, "I'm so sorry." "For what?" "For all of this." May touched Lily's face. "You should be at school, playing with friends, being a kid. Instead—" "Mom," Lily interrupted. "It's not your fault." "But it is," May said. "I'm your mother. I'm supposed to take care of you. Instead—" She closed her eyes. "You're the one taking care of me." Lily froze. "What?" "I know, Lily," May said. "I know you wake up in the middle of the night. I know you do my work. I know you're not going to school." Lily felt the ground disappear. "Mom, I know everything." May continued. "And I hate it. I hate that you have to do this. I hate that I can't stop it. I hate that I'm so weak." Her voice broke. Lily hugged her, tight, as if she could hold her mother and keep her from falling apart. "You're not weak," Lily said. "You're sick. It's different." May didn't respond. She just hugged her daughter back. And the two of them stayed there, mother and daughter, holding on to each other, in the small room that was everything they had, unaware that someone was listening. Damien was in the hallway. He'd gone to check if Lily was asleep. Instead, he heard everything, and every word was like a knife to his chest. He walked away silently, went back to his room, and made a decision. No more watching. It was time to act the next morning. Damien summoned Mrs. Hartwell to his study. The housekeeper walked in with a confident smile. "Mr. Ashford," she said, "how can I help you?" Damien studied her for a moment. That fake smile, that confidence of someone who thought she was in control. "Sit down," he said. Mrs. Hartwell sat, still smiling. "I've been reviewing some records," Damien began, "specifically regarding one employee, May Chen." Mrs. Hartwell's smile wavered, just for a second. But Damien saw it. "May," she said. "Yes. Unfortunately, her performance has been problematic." "Problematic how?" "Well," Mrs. Hartwell adjusted herself in the chair. "Frequent accidents, incomplete work, tardiness. She used to be an excellent employee. But in the last few months—" "You gave her an ultimatum," Damien said. "End of the week." Mrs. Hartwell nodded. "I had no choice, sir. The standards of this estate must be maintained." Damien leaned forward. "Tell me about these accidents, he said. "How many were there?" Mrs. Hartwell hesitated. "Several," she said. "I have everything documented. And they all happened when you were present. Another moment of hesitation. I suppose so. After all, as head housekeeper, it's my job to supervise. Damien nodded. Interesting, he said, because I've been observing for the past few weeks, and I've noticed something curious. What is that, sir? Damien stood up, walked to the window. May's accidents seem to happen only when you're around, he said. When you're not. She works fine. Mrs. Hartwell paled. I don't know what you're implying. Damien turned around, and his eyes were no longer entirely human. They had a glow, amber and green, like liquid fire. I'm implying, he said, his voice low, dangerous, that you've been deliberately sabotaging a sick employee to get her fired. Mr. Ashford. Mrs. Hartwell stood up. This is absurd. I would never. Sit down. The word came as a command, not a request, and Mrs. Hartwell sat, her face white, her hands trembling. I have cameras in this house, Damien continued. Cameras you don't know about. And in the past few weeks, I've seen some interesting things. He walked to his desk, picked up a remote, turned on the screen on the wall. And Mrs. Hartwell watched in horror as images appeared, herself wetting the floor before May walked by, herself moving objects to places where May would trip, herself adding extra tasks to May's list when no one was looking. Sabotage, deliberate, systematic. For weeks. Mr. Ashford. Mrs. Hartwell began. I can explain. No need. Damien interrupted. I already understand. You wanted May fired. Why? Mrs. Hartwell didn't answer. Damien took a step toward her, and something happened. Scales. Small. Green. Appearing on her temples, and Mrs. Hartwell saw. My God, she whispered. What are you? Damien smiled. But it wasn't a human smile. I'm someone who protects those who can't protect themselves, he said. Now. Why did you want May fired? Mrs. Hartwell was trembling now. My niece, she said, her voice failing. She needs a job. I thought if May left, you would destroy a family. Damien finished. To give a job to your niece. Mrs. Hartwell looked down. I didn't think. No. Damien agreed. You didn't think about May, who is sick and without treatment. You didn't think about Lily, who is 11 years old and washing dishes at 4 in the morning to save her mother. You didn't think about anything but yourself. Mrs. Hartwell said nothing. There was nothing to say. You're fired, Damien said, effective immediately. You have 1 hour to leave this estate, and if I ever hear that you've harmed anyone else anywhere else. He leaned closer, the scales now visible across his entire face. You'll find out exactly what I am. Mrs. Hartwell stood up, her legs barely supporting her. I'll leave, she stammered. Yes, Damien agreed. Leave. She practically ran for the door. But before she could escape, Damien called out one last thing. And Mrs. Hartwell, she freezed, not daring to turn around. If you tell anyone what you saw here, Damien warned, no one will believe you. But I will know, and I will find you. Mrs. Hartwell didn't respond. She just ran. And Damien stood alone in his study, and the scales slowly fading away, his eyes returning to normal, a threat eliminated. But there was still much to do. An hour later, Damien went to May's room. He knocked gently. May opened the door, and when she saw who it was, her eyes widened in surprise. Mr. Ashford, she gasped. Is something wrong? May I come in? Damien asked. May hesitated, glancing back at the simple room behind her, at the unmade bed, at her few belongings. Of course, she said softly. But please excuse the mess. I was just about to tidy up. No need to apologize, Damien said as he entered the room. I just wanted to have a word with you. May stood frozen, visibly nervous, clearly expecting to be dismissed. Damien sat down on the only chair in the room. "May," he began gently, "how long have you been sick?" May froze. I'm not sick, sir. I'm just tired." "The work, May," Damien interrupted, his voice soft. "I know." May's face crumpled. "You know?" she whispered. "About the illness, about Lily covering for me, about everything." May burst into tears. "Please," she begged, "please don't fire me. I'll get better, I promise. Just give me one more chance." Damien stood up and placed his hands on her shoulders. "May," he said gently. "I'm not going to fire you." May looked up at him, confused. "You're not—" "No," Damien confirmed. "In fact, I came to offer you something." "What?" Damien took a deep breath. It was time to reveal the truth. "May," he said solemnly, "what I'm about to tell you may seem impossible, but I need you to trust me." May nodded, still crying, still confused. "So I'm not just your employer," Damien said. "I am something else." And then he showed her. The scales emerged, the horns sprouted, one of his hands transformed, black scales, sharp claws, a dragon's hand. And May's eyes widened in terror. She recoiled, stumbled, and fell back onto the bed. "What? What are you?" she breathed. "I am the Dragon King," Damien declared, "and I can heal you." A sick mother, a daughter who sacrifices everything, and a king who finally decided to use his power to protect those who needed it most. If you believe there are people in the world willing to make a difference, keep watching. Because this story will remind you that kindness still exists. May was silent for a long moment, staring at Damien, at the scales, at the horns, at the dragon hand. "That's," she said finally, "that's real." Damien nodded. "It is real." May swallowed hard. "And you can heal me?" "Really?" "My healers can," Damien said. "Dragons possess medicine far beyond what humans know. If you allow it, they can discover what ails you and treat it." May looked down at her own hands, trembling, always trembling lately. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why would you do this for me?" Damien sat down beside her. "Because your daughter found me washing dishes at 4 in the morning, and he said, because she's 11 years old and carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, because no one should have to go through what you're going through. And because," he looked her in the eyes, "I lost my wife 3 years ago, and since then, I've shut myself off. I stopped seeing the world around me. I stopped helping the people who needed it. Your daughter reminded me of what I'd forgotten." "What?" "That there's always something we can do," Damien said. "There's always someone we can help, if we choose to see." May lowered her eyes. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Damien replied. "You just need to accept." May fell silent, thinking, and then she asked something Damien didn't expect. "Does Lily know?" she asked. "About you?" "No," Damien replied. "Not yet." May nodded. "Then I want to tell her," she said. "Together. She's been through so much. She deserves to know that everything is going to be okay." Damien smiled. "All right," he said. "Let's tell her together." Lily was in the garden when they found her, sitting on the same bench where she'd talked to Damien, looking up at the sky. "Lily?" May called out softly. The girl turned around, and when she saw her mother standing next to Damien, her eyes filled with concern. "Mom?" She ran to her. "You should be resting. What happened? Is everything all right?" May took her daughter's hands in hers. "My love," she said, "sit here with me. We need to talk." Lily sat down, her heart pounding in her chest, fearing the worst. "Mr. Ashford has told me everything," May began. "About what you've been doing, the early mornings, the extra work, school." Lily lowered her eyes. "Mum, I know why you did it," May continued, "and I love you for it, more than anything in the world." Lily felt tears welling up. "But Mom," she said, "I couldn't say—" "You did save," May interrupted. "You saved me every day. Every time you did my work, every time you hid your own hardships, you gave me time, time that I needed. But Mrs. Hartwell, she's no longer here, Damien said. Lily looked at him, confused. What? She's gone, Damien explained, and she won't be back, ever. Lily didn't fully understand, but something in her face changed. Relief. And there's more, May said. Mr. Ashford, he can help me, heal me. How? May looked at Damien. Damien nodded. And then he transformed. Not completely, but enough. Scales, horns, fiery eyes, a dragon hand. Lily recoiled, her eyes wide with shock. You are... I am the Dragon King, Damien declared, and I have healers who can help your mother. Lily looked from Damien to May. From May to Damien, processing and trying to understand. This is real, she asked. Damien nodded. It is real. And you can heal Mom? My healers can. And after? Lily hesitated. After, we'll be leaving? We'll be sent away? Damien knelt down so he was eye level with her. Lily, he said gently, I'm not going to send you away. In fact, I was thinking about the opposite. The opposite. I want you to stay, as Damien said, not as housekeepers, as on family. Lily blinked. Family. My son, Lucas. Damien continued. He lost his mother 3 years ago. Since then, he hasn't spoken to almost anyone. Doesn't smile, doesn't play. But since you arrived, he asked me about you. Wanted to know if you were okay. That's the first time in 3 years he's cared about someone besides me. Lily didn't know what to say. Lucas, he needs a friend, Damien said. And I need, well, to remember what it's like to have a real family. Would you give us that chance? Lily looked at her mother. May was crying, but they were different tears. Tears of relief, of hope, of a weight finally lifting from her shoulders. Mom, Lily said, what do you think? May hugged her daughter. I think, she said, that for the first time in a long time, we can stop being afraid. Lily closed her eyes and finally let herself feel what she'd been holding back for months. She cried. Cried like she hadn't cried since her mother got sick. Cried for all the sleepless nights, for all the school days missed, for all the fear. And Damien just waited. Let her cry, because he knew that sometimes crying is the only way to let go. 3 days later, the healers arrived. They were dragons too, in human form, but with that same glow in their eyes, that same presence that wasn't completely of this world. They examined May for hours, ran tests that no human hospital could perform, used technology that seemed like magic, and when they finished, Damien called them into a meeting. Lily insisted on being present. Damien allowed it, because she had carried this weight for too long. She deserved to know. The diagnosis is serious, the head healer said. A chronic illness that's been slowly consuming her body. Without treatment, she would have, at most, a few weeks left. Lily felt the floor disappear. Weeks. But, the healer continued, with our treatment, we can cure her completely. It'll take a few weeks of recovery. But she'll be fine. Completely fine. Lily started to cry again, but this time they were tears of relief, pure relief. She's going to be okay. Lily repeated. Really? Really? The healer confirmed. Damien placed his hand on Lily's shoulder. I promised I would help, he said. Dragons don't break promises. Lily turned and hugged Damien. It was an impulse. She didn't think. Just hugged. And Damien, who hadn't been hugged by a child since his wife's death, felt something melt in his chest. Thank you, Lily whispered. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Damien hugged her back. You're welcome, he said. Always. May's treatment started that same day, and in the following weeks, everything changed. Me began to improve almost immediately. The pain lessened. The energy returned. The color came back to her face. And Lily. Lily could finally be a child. She went back to school, made friends, slept through the night, every night, and most importantly, she found Lucas. At first, the boy was shy, spoke little, watched a lot. But Lily was persistent. She sat next to him during meals, asked about his books, invited him to play in the garden, and little by little, Lucas began to respond. A word here, a phrase there, a small smile that kept growing. 3 weeks after the start of treatment, Damien found something he hadn't expected. Lily and Lucas, sitting in the library, doing homework together, laughing, really laughing, like children should laugh. Damien stood in the doorway, observing, and felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Peace. Dad. Lucas had seen him. "Come see," the boy said. "Lily is teaching me math. She's really good. I'm not that good," Lily said, "but it's fun to teach." Damien walked in, sat down with them. "You seem to be having fun," he said. "We are," Lucas replied, "and later we're going to play chess. Lily said she knows how to play. I know a little," Lily admitted. "Mom taught me." "Your mother plays chess?" Damien asked. Lily nodded. "She's very good, better than me, but lately she hasn't had." She stopped. Energy. Damien nodded. "Maybe when she's better," he said, "you can play again." Lily smiled. That smile that had been hidden for so long. "I'd like that," she said. Damien looked at the 2 children. His son, who was finally coming back to life, and Lily, who could finally live, and thought about how it had all started, with a girl washing dishes at 4 in the morning, and how it had ended, with a family, improvised and unexpected, imperfect, but a family nonetheless. A month later, the estate was different, more alive, fuller, more family. May was completely cured, working now not as a housekeeper, but as the estate manager, a position created specifically for her, with salary, with benefits, with respect. Lily had caught up on all the missed classes, was among the best in the class, and most importantly, had friends, real friends. Lucas was talking now, not just single words, complete sentences, jokes, stories. He and Lily were inseparable, brothers and sisters in heart, if not in blood. And Damien. Damien had found something he thought he had lost forever: purpose. That night everyone was gathered in the dining room. May, Lily, Lucas, and Damien. A family. "You know what I was thinking?" Lily said between bites. "What?" May asked. "That a month ago I was waking up at 4 in the morning to wash dishes," Lily said. "And now I wake up at 7, and the only thing I have to do is go to school." Lucas laughed. "You still wake up at 4 sometimes," he said. "I hear you walking down the hall." Lily blushed. "Sometimes I wake up thirsty," she said. Damien smiled. "You can wake up whenever you want," he said, "as long as you're getting enough sleep." Lily nodded. "I am," she said. "For the first time in a long time. I'm really sleeping." May held her daughter's hand. "And so am I," she said. The table fell silent for a moment. A good silence. Comfortable. Like family. "Dad," Lucas said. "Yes." "Thank you," Lucas said, "for bringing them here. For—" he hesitated. "For paying attention again." Damien felt his eyes sting. "Thank you," he said, "for reminding me what matters." Lucas smiled, that smile, that had been hidden away for 3 long years. Now it was shining. Free. "Lily helped," he said softly. Lily blushed even harder. "I didn't do anything," she mumbled. You did everything, Lucas insisted. You were the first person who made me want to talk again. Lily didn't know what to say, so she just extended her hand, slowly, tentatively, and Lucas grasped it, firmly. Brothers, not by blood, but by choice, which, sometimes, is even stronger. May looked up at Damien, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. Damien shook his head slightly, a rare, genuine smile gracing his lips. The thank you is all mine, he replied, his voice thick with emotion. You gave me my family back. May smiled warmly. Then I guess we're even, she said, a playful glint in her eye. Damien chuckled softly. We're even, he agreed, the words carrying a weight of unspoken understanding. And that night, when everyone had finally drifted off to sleep, Damien did something he hadn't done in what felt like a lifetime. He quietly checked on Lucas, peeking into his room. The boy was sleeping soundly, tranquil, serene, at peace. Then he moved on, pausing outside Lily's room. She too was asleep, her face relaxed and untroubled, finally resting, like a child should. And lastly, he went to May's room, his heart pounding a little harder with each step. She was awake, her figure illuminated by the soft glow of a bedside lamp. Reading. Mr. Ashford, she said quietly, acknowledging his presence at the doorway. Damien, he corrected gently. Just Damien. May smiled softly. Damien, she repeated, testing the name on her lips. Is everything all right? No, he said, his gaze softening. Just checking in, making sure everyone's okay. May slowly closed her book, marking her place with a delicate finger. We're okay, she said, her voice laced with a quiet strength. For the first time in a long time, we're really okay. Damien nodded slowly, his eyes locking with hers in a silent understanding. Good night, May. Good night, Damien. He gently closed the door, leaving her in the quiet solitude of her room, and walked back down the silent hallway, his mind racing, thinking about how it all had started, with an 11-year-old girl, with red, chapped hands, washing dishes at 4 in the morning, to save her mother, all alone, and how it had ended. Finally, thankfully, with a family, with healing, with hope, with a home. Damien smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached his eyes, and for the first time in 3 years, he slept in peace. And so ends our story. A story about sacrifice and about love, about what children are capable of doing for those they love. Lily was 11 years old. She should have been playing, studying, just being a kid. Instead, she carried the weight of the world on her small shoulders, until someone finally noticed, finally helped, finally saw her. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that there is always hope. Because there always is. Sometimes it comes at 4 in the morning, when we least expect it. See you in the next story.